Have you ever wondered what your clothing really costs? For this project, we took a shirt out of our closet to find its origins. It is made by a well-known brand called Gap.
We researched things about Gap, including how and where our shirt was made, but let's start from the beginning, where the shirt came from. Vietnam is a Southeast Asian country growing in the textile industry, so what is it like to work in the Vietnamese textile factories? Most workers make less than $1 an hour, which is a hardly livable wage. Although in some cases factories would pay bonuses for exceeding the daily quota, most are unable to receive this extra money because the quota is nearly impossible to meet. This translates to people working 10+ hours a day, hunched over a sewing machine, ironing, tagging, and cleaning clothing. This all starts between 5 and 6:30 in the morning for workers to prepare themselves and get to work. They would check in at 7 o'clock and work till lunch break, which would be around noon. Lunch can run anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. From there, they would go back to work till 5 unless they received overtime, which would be 2 to 4 hours more. Let's look at textile worker Hai, for example. Hai lives with his brothers and sister in a small building outside the factory. He and his siblings work a regular 10-hour shift, and after they eat, continue working at home so they can make all the extra money they can to send home to their family. Hai was interviewed by BBC News to get insight on what it's like to be a factory worker. He responded by saying that the pay was enough to get by, but being a textile worker can be tiring and that he missed his family. Working in factories come with many dangers, one of the biggest dangers being posed as fire hazards. Many safety concerns also pertain to health issues, such as breathing fumes from the dyes in the clothing. An alarming 8.3% of Vietnam's entire population is undernourished. This means that many can't afford enough food. This is concerning for the health of many people. Like Hai, lots of people do not live in or on the factory campus, but instead with families somewhere close by. Those who don't live at the factory get to work by bike, or if they're lucky, motorized scooters. So what does this mean? Why does this matter? If we know where our clothing is being made and how the people who are making them is being treated, we can be conscientious and ethical consumers.
Gap's labor policies. Companies can easily give you what they want you to know and conceal what they don't, but Gap seems to be very transparent to their policies. Gap claims to use a business and vendor code of conduct, as well as a human rights policy to ensure their labor practices are ethical. There is a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination, harassment, violence in the workplace, or bribery. Gap also follows all laws regarding meals, breaks, and employment of minors. In the past, Gap has had issues involving Bangladesh sweatshops. Gap has reported firing and overworking of pregnant workers, routine beatings, and deep poverty wages in sweatshops. Many dangers can come from textile industries that badly affect the environment. Gap's Code of Vendor Conduct lays down policies to remain environmentally friendly. All facilities must have an environmental management system, environmental emergency plan, and chemical handling procedure. Gap is also working toward getting 100% of their cotton from sustainable sources. They are also working on reducing their greenhouse gas emission by 30% by 2020. Even Obama is behind what Gap and its choices. President Obama paid a visit to Gap store to show his support for Gap Incorporation's decision to increase wages. A way you can help keep companies with clean practices is before you purchase clothes, to check out the background of the clothes, to make sure companies are obeying laws and not going against human rights. Try by keeping up on companies' whereabouts through watchdog organizations. These watchdog organizations make sure companies are obeying laws and not going against human rights. By doing research, you can determine what stores have the best policies and purchase from the stores you know come from a good foundation.
raw materials and their environmental impact. This shirt is made out of 60% cotton and 40% modal. Cotton. What is cotton? Cotton is a soft white fibrous substance that surrounds the seeds of a tropical and subtropical plant and is used as textile fiber and thread for sewing. Where does cotton come from? Cotton comes from China, India, and the United States. Per 1,000 metric tons, China produces 6,532 tons of cotton. India produces 6,423 tons of cotton, and the United States produces 3,553 tons of cotton. What process goes into making cotton clothes? Cotton is either hand-picked or machine harvested by stripper harvesters or spindle pickers. Then the cotton goes through a dryer to reduce any moisture. And finally, the cotton is ginned to separate it from the seeds. The environmental cost of cotton. Cotton takes 20,000 liters of water per 1 kilogram of cotton. Cotton uses large amounts of water, causing a fresh water shortage. Cotton is also known to degrade your farmland over time. Human costs of growing cotton. In some places like Uzbekistan, child labor is still used to harvest cotton. Only 2.4% of the world's cropland is used for farming, but cotton accounts for 24% and 11% of all insecticides and pesticide sales. Pesticides run off from the cotton fields, contaminating the drinking water and threatens the health of nearby inhabitants.
What's modal? Different from cotton, modal is a form of rayon, which is a synthetic material. Rayon requires heavy processing to make and is often combined with other materials and clothes. Rayon is made from wood pulp, and through severe chemical processing, the pulp is converted into rayon fibers. 24% of all rayon is produced in India. What's the environmental impact of rayon? Production of rayon uses large amounts of energy and water, which contributes to global air and water pollution. Although modal is produced from renewable sources, demand for wood pulp has caused mass deforestation in some parts of the world. Some companies have even been known to take forest land from indigenous populations without permission. What's the human impact? According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, most textile workers develop respiratory illnesses such as COPD due to inhalation of textile fibers. Most cases of COPD cannot be cured. Since rayon production requires the use of hazardous chemicals, inhalation of these can be hazardous to human health. We attempted to contact Gap about their materials, and this is what they told us.
Thank you for calling Gap. So Tom, this is Teresa. How may I help you?
Hi, my name is Trinity, and I've been interested in your company, and I had a question for you about your company and where do you guys get your cotton from for your materials? Like what country is it sourced from and stuff like that?
I have no idea on that. Let me see if I can find out who you would need to talk to real quick.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I did talk with someone, and they don't know 100%. They do know that for sure that we get it from different countries because of the volume, how much cotton we do use. So it kind of comes from all over the world. But you can go to our website. It's called Gap Inc. GAPINC.
Okay.
And it would actually, you should be able to find out some information about it.
So, you're probably wondering what you can do to help. The next time you go to buy clothes, think about what you're contributing to. Look for clothes that are made from fair trade materials and see if the company you're buying from has any of these certifications. Instead of buying into the fast fashion mindset, buy a few pieces of well-made clothing instead of large amounts of cheap clothes. There's a reason companies can afford to sell their clothes for such cheap prices. When you're tired of the clothes you have, recycle or donate them. Don't throw them away. There's already enough clothes in our landfills.